Hello and welcome to the Switchrpg podcast. My name is Gio and I'm joined by, as always, by just Jonny. How's it going?
It's going good!
Excellent, excellent. If this is the first time listening to the show, we are from Switchrpg.com, where we bring the latest in the world of RPGs on the Nintendo Switch. This week, we're just catching up on some news. We do have something we're going to be doing a little bit different. We have played a game at the same time, and we're just gonna kind of do a little review for it. We'll let you know the you'll see the name of the game probably in the title of this episode. You know what? Heck with it. It's Morbid. Morbid, is it the Morbid the 7 Acolytes? Okay, so we'll let you know our thoughts on that as well as we're gonna be discussing what our most anticipated games for the upcoming year. This is the end of the year, so we're going to be finishing out. And we want to let you guys know what we're anticipating, and we'd like you guys to chime in as well. By maybe hitting us up on Twitter at SwitchRPG. You can hit us up on the YouTubes, the Discords, all the links at SwitchRPG.com. Jonny,
Yeah.
What are you playing?
I am continuing to play the Jet Lancer.
Okay.
Just really good. It scratches that arcadey itch that I have every now and then. So good stuff. Continuing to get through Ogre Battle 64, and oh man, I love that game.
Nice.
It's so good. It's so good.
Nice.
So continuing on that, those two games kind of I didn't put in too much time into because other games I'll be mentioning that I've been playing and I've been putting in a lot of time. So Morbid being one of them, put in a good amount of time into Morbid. I'll skip over that one. I Smash Brothers Ultimate. I just very recently today started to play as Sephiroth. Just released, so Sephiroth is a playable character. Started to play as Sephiroth, and definitely got handed shown. I got shown the door on the online competitive stuff. So I think
it was kind of a unique way, right? Like you got to play him earlier, right? If you beat
him.
If you beat him, okay.
Yeah, you have to have the fighter pass or buy the Sephiroth specific DLC, and if you do that, the release date is a week from, or I think about a week from now. Okay. But if you beat him in the challenge, which
what's
you're
challenging?
gonna beat him in the it's so easy.
Oh, okay, never mind.
You have 3 different difficulty settings, and you can just set it to easy, which is like, I don't know. You have to.
Way too easy.
You have to like not touch your controller in order to lose. It's like that easy. I beat the very hard, which I thought was supposed to be hard, but I had an easy time with that too. Maybe it was because I was playing as Ridley, and Ridley is the final boss. Like Ridley's the ultimate boss, so that's probably why.
Yeah. Well, maybe they just wanted you to beat it so you could have Sephiroth early.
So I did that, and the stage is it's very spoilery with Final Fantasy stuff. Okay. And they added like 9 Final Fantasy music tracks.
Oh wow!
And they all sound really good. Some of them are rearrangements of existing songs, so there's a very different sound to it. So good stuff there. That was very recent. The 2 games I have been playing a lot of, one of them is Nier Automata.
Okay, yeah. I hear a lot about that.
Yes, and I have beaten that game twice.
All right.
You're supposed to beat it, I believe, 5 times.
What?
Yeah. So you beat the. I don't want to call it act because it does resolve itself. You beat the game the first time, the credits roll and everything, and then at the end of the credits, a message pops up from Square Enix that says, "Oh, hey, by the way, we made this game with the intention that you will play it again. And when you play it again, things are going to be very different. So we encourage you to try it out." I'm like, okay. And I knew this was going to happen. So I'm like, okay, all right, cool. Interesting message. And then I fire it up again, and things are pretty different. I mean, they are very different, but they're not like as different from the first run.
Okay.
So I beat that, and then I fired up again, and things are drastically different
How
from the first two.
when you say different, how is it different?
Okay, so when you play it the second time, you're playing as a completely different character.
Okay.
The character that was your sidekick on the first playthrough is the character that you play as, and their perspective is the perspective of the same story that you experienced, except when that character is not around, they're doing something else, and you get to see what they're doing. Also, that character has a different set of gameplay mechanics. They have a hacking gameplay mechanic that the first character just doesn't have. Mm-hmm. So that is a very fundamentally different thing. And also, the character is not as capable in melee combat as the main as the first character. And then the third character is kind of like the first character, but the third character takes place pretty much, that third run takes place immediately after the ending of the first two. So now the storyline legitimately continues from there and goes into like bonkers land in a very good way. In a very good way. The game is great. It is great. It was great from the first playthrough, from the first ending.
Yep.
And it was more it was good for the second run, only because there was like a little bit too much overlap on similar things, just a little bit, nothing crazy. It was more than fine to deal with, because it was interesting, and I knew that there was going to be more to come. And also that second run only took me like 5 hours or something like that. So it's quick because you're going through the same content, you know where to go for everything. So going through it again, you could just breeze right through it. And then doing it then this third run that I'm on now, it's the story continues, so everything's very, very new and very different, and the enemies are different, and it's just great. It's just a fantastic, weird, very weird RPG, open world action RPG. Just very, very weird and awesome.
Nice.
It's by the way, it's a collaboration between Platinum Games and Square Enix that made it.
Do you see the Platinum Games influence there?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think they did most. They developed most of the game. I think Square probably helped out with, like, I don't know, like music and maybe like art, and definitely the publishing side of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, it reminds me of Astral Chain. And Bayonetta. It reminds me of those things, but like it's very distinctly an RPG. Very RPG.
Okay.
But in the good ways. So there's that. Just having a blast. I'm going to continue. I'm definitely going to beat that game. That's probably going to be the very next game I'm going to be. Is going to be Nier Automata. That or Ogre Battle 64. One of those two games I'm going to beat next. And then the main game I've been playing, or the other main game I've been playing, is Cyberpunk 2077 on PC. So,
on PC, okay.
On PC. I've been playing that, and yes, that game is buggy. Buggy. So buggy. And I'm playing on a good PC. Like, the game runs pretty... Yep. It looks real good. It runs at 60 frames per second. So I'm not, like, complaining at all about the graphics. But I am going to complain about the graphics because it took me a lot of effort on my side to get the graphics to look good.
Well, so that is also, like, you living as a PC gamer, like, that's part of your
No,
yes, that's part of your deal, right?
no.
Yeah,
That's not normal. It's not. No, I have never had to play around with overclocking and changing, enabling or disabling graphics uh, directly on my graphics card features, rendering features. I've never had to do that before. That was a very first time thing. And I did it in order to get the game to run nice and smooth and pretty and all that.
yeah,
But I should not have to do that. That game is very buggy. It's also buggy for other reasons too. And also there's like the gameplay is good, but it's like nothing other than the hacking stuff, which is definitely unique. There's nothing that's like overly standing out as being like the running gun gameplay and hide behind cover type stuff. There's nothing new there. The stealth mechanics, nothing new there. The dialogue system is not a good dialogue system. It's not a bad one. It's more like Mass Effect. If I had to
yeah.
like
It
kind
was
of
definitely
do
the
something.
dialogue system was definitely better in The Witcher 3. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Witcher 3 had, yeah, I'm with you. Witcher 3, Divinity, way better.
Yeah, I'm just saying like CD Projekt Red has done a better job with their dialogue system, and it was done in The Witcher 3.
Yeah, and it's also the way things play out. It's a little bit too like Hollywood scripted action type thing. That's another thing that was a little bit discarded. It's not bad. It's just I don't know what I was expecting. I mean, I guess I should have expected that because it has Keanu Reeves in there,
Yeah,
right? So I probably should have expected that. The big turnoff for me though is the AI. The AI is garbage. The
yeah,
enemy AI.
yep.
So that's the big one that is turning me off from wanting to like fully immerse myself in there. And I doubt like they'll fix the bugs, but I doubt they're gonna fix the AI. And that's the thing that is making me a little bummed out on it because I was definitely looking forward to the game. The game's still great, good. Right
Good.
now it's good.
Yeah.
When they fix the bugs, it'll be great. But it's never going to be amazing.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there because I've also been playing. I've been playing on the Xbox Series X. I mean, I haven't had any. The game has crashed a couple of times on me.
That's a
Uh,
hard crash.
yeah, hard crash goes right back to my dashboard.
That's the worst.
Yeah. I've come across some audio bugs. Also, hey, I can hear myself. The echo.
Yep.
Sorry. Um, yeah, I had a few audio glitches where I was taking on like a sub boss, I guess, part of like a gig or whatever. And you can hear her breathing, during the combat, and that continued for I don't need I I thought she hacked me like legitimately. Because I continued to hear that breathing, that heavy breathing an hour after gameplay. I'm like, all right, well, looks like I lost quite a bit of gameplay. I had to reload a previous save file. But I feel like we're in early access, basically, with Cyberpunk.
Yeah. I
Now, obviously, it's having problems running on PS4, especially the early versions, even the early versions of the Xbox One. Xbox just today also announced that they're doing um, uh, refunds. So it's PlayStation doing digital refunds, Xbox doing digital refunds. I just also saw another thing with Best Buy taking back physical copies, which is a first. I haven't seen that done in quite a while. So Best Buy is doing that. CD Projekt Red is taking a big hit on this, and maybe they should have delayed it again or given themselves a lot more cushion than what they really thought they needed. Because
yeah,
originally this game was supposed to come out like, what was it, April of this year? So they delayed it a couple of times in between, but essentially they delayed it. What is it? 8 months. It needed at least another 6 to 8 months, at least, at least.
yeah. Yeah, they definitely should have delayed it. Delaying is the right answer because this is such a bad taste in everyone's mouth. It's in and I'm playing it on the best platform. I'm playing it on PC.
Right.
And I didn't get any crashes yet. It's still buggy and just it's buggier to let those who haven't experienced it yet, it's buggier than Bethesda RPGs. It's buggier than Skyrim and Fallout.
Yeah. It certainly reminds you of Bethesda games, you know, with their quirkiness and their bugginess and whatnot, and their old engine. This is like a pretty new engine that they're working on. They just needed a lot more time. They really
Yeah.
did. And it's too bad.
What else have you been playing?
I've been playing Dark Souls Remastered still. I'm still kind of working through that. I tried to get into Immortals, Phoenix Rising. I'm not sure. I don't know what it is with that game. It's not hitting me. It's not getting to me. I played for maybe 5 hours or so. I don't know. I just don't think it's for me. I think the voice acting is god awful. The humor or the comedy is just so cheesy, not funny, off putting. So and the combat is okay. It's pretty solid. Um, but I don't know. I think it's a very safe RPG, open world RPG, but it's just not for me. Just not for me. Um,
At least it ain't buggy.
no, no bugs. But you know what? In saying all this with the bugginess, I still look forward to playing. I have over, I think I'm at 25 hours. So it's not stopping me. I'm still enjoying, you know, exploring the city, doing a lot of the side missions because I haven't really advanced the story that much. I'm doing a ton of side stuff, but it
Yeah,
is it is a buggy mess though.
almost with you, and when we're talking again about Cyberpunk 2077, I'm
Right.
almost with you too. I do want to continue playing it, but I also want to like wait for for major fixes to occur.
Yeah. I don't know that you'll get major fixes. I mean, I hope that you'll get me. I think it's just going to be a lot of incremental fixes. Like there was one today. I don't know what the fixes were, but it's 1.05, 1.06. You know, that's we're getting incremental fixes. I'm assuming they're working on a lot of the bigger game breaking stuff.
Well,
I
what
hope
was the fix you got today? Was it 104?
105.
105? Oh, okay, all right. So
Yeah. It literally
I'll
I hopped on just before we started recording here and there
yep.
was an update. So
I
now
didn't check for that.
yeah, it was for PC and for Xbox.
Yep. Okay.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm still in enjoy and I'm enjoying it. So it's just stinks, you know, because it's definitely one I was really anticipating. So and for it to come out like this, ugh. Right. So I think might right now may be a good time to maybe do the review. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do the review.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm all discombobulated anyways. I have the wrong hat on. Usually I wear a Nintendo hat. I have new headphones that I just got. They're okay, I guess. I
You're
shaved
missing a beard.
I shaved my face. Like what is going on? All right, so this point in the podcast, what we're gonna try and do anyway is we're gonna try and play games together. Basically, I pick this one, you'll pick the next one. We play a game and we kind of review it. So this week is Morbid, the Seven Acolytes. Let me just get some information on this here. This was released December 3rd. It is published by Merge Games and developed by Still Running. If you're not familiar with Morbid, it is a not top down, isometric, pixel art, kind of like maybe they're trying to be Souls like here. But
Yep.
so I'll let you start off. We'll maybe go with the narrative. What were your thoughts on the narrative here?
Uh, so it doesn't really give you much story. It's not a directed story
Right.
game. It's about I definitely like this about the game. It does the same thing that Metroid Prime did long ago, and that the Souls games are known for, where you discover the story, and you discover it through lore and, within the item descriptions, and as you sort of explore the game, you get that lore as you go, and you can go to the save points, and they have a section there where you can like look up. Think of it like an encyclopedia of sorts. You can look up a whole
or
bunch of different things,
yeah, it's like a
and
bestiary kind of thing.
yeah, yeah. And you can read up not only on the creatures and their descriptions, but different lore that explains the various things that go on in the world, and different like gameplay mechanics and how those things relate to the lore within the world. So it unfolds at a very nice pace. And yeah, there is NPCs that also tell you stuff, just like in Souls-like games, but they definitely don't tell you enough. They give you some information, and then which is enough to sort of for you to figure out where to go, and then you get the rest of the information like as you play. And as if you are inquisitive, you'll get the lore. It's there waiting for you. It's not going to. It's not, but you got to access it. It's not going to access you. Whatever that means.
Right. Now, don't get me wrong. Like the lore is there to fill in the space of the story. So when you start playing the game, basically, you're basically a fighter that's been training to defeat these 7 acolytes, right?
Yep.
And that's just the basic premise there. So then these bits of information come in, with, like you were saying, with as you discover. So some of the NPCs do give you some of that, but I didn't really find that they really introduced a lot of the story bits. They just had their own things going on.
Yeah, you're like one. It's like one of those things where you're the last of a certain type of people
Yeah,
that and I guess the people that live on this island or whatever it is. I think it's an island.
yeah.
Uh, they're dying off because the acolytes are pretty much killing everything around, and inhabiting and controlling everything, and there's everyone's dying and suffering and or becoming these weird creature things or whatever, and they're relying on, I forgot what these people used to be, but they're you're pretty much one of the last ones,
Hmm.
or if not the last one, and they're hoping on you being able to defeat the acolytes, but it's like they know it's in the undertone is that you're gonna fail. They know you're gonna fail.
Right,
That's what.
right. So in terms of story, it does an okay job. It tries to
I think
essentially
it does a good job on the story.
yeah, it tries to replicate what Dark Souls does in terms of giving you what you want to get out of it, basically.
Yeah, and there's a lot there. I think it does a good job. There's no voice acting, but other than that, I think it does do a good job giving you plenty to learn about for the world, and just weird mundane consumable items in the game will have a fairly good lore write up on it that
Hmm.
fits well with the rest of the world and how the world operates. So it's I think it's done pretty well.
Yeah. Okay. So let's jump into really what Souls-like games are. Basically, I feel like a lot of it is combat. Okay, or the let's just get into the gameplay here.
Yeah.
In terms of combat, I had a bit of an issue with the combat. I almost want to say maybe it's the perspective of the game that made it have an issue with me. For example, obviously Dark Souls is a 3D. It's very different. It's a 3D game. Where when I look at other games that try to do the Souls like thing with the stamina, basically stamina based combat, Salt and Sanctuary, it's a
Yep.
side scroller. So
Yep.
you have a different perspective there. Where this one is an isometric, and I don't know that it I don't know that the combat relays well to what they were trying to do. That's just
No, they failed very hard on, and there's a very key thing that they failed on. They failed on the animations of how the attacks look and matching that, more importantly, to the hitbox. The animations are not, they're not the best of the animation. It's not that the animation itself is bad. It's just the direction of the attacks that play out in as the attack gets animated. It gives you a certain indication of what is going to be susceptible to being hit or not hit, as
right.
well as not just for your character but for the enemies as well. But what actually happens is the hitbox that occurs, which is an invisible thing that players don't see. The hitbox that actually tracks whether or not your attack or the enemy's attack hits each other is completely different from the animation.
Yeah.
So, and that's the biggest, one of the biggest problems in this game and in its combat, is that they don't sync up very well at all. There are you have a way bigger hitbox than what your weapon is conveying.
Right.
Enemies have sometimes have smaller hitboxes or way bigger hitboxes than what their attacks convey, and a lot of that changes depending on if you're swinging up or down or left or right.
Right. So
It is
that
so inconsistent.
so that's what I mean about like the perspective really kind of changing the way that combat looks and feels. Like you have like you were just saying, it's really inconsistent as to where you are positionally on the map when you're fighting an enemy or whatever. I just had a hard time with that in general.
Yeah,
Uh just trying to
I
figure that out.
I wouldn't say it's the perspective, because you've played and love games, action RPGs like this that have the same perspective, like Secret of Mana.
Mm,
Like they have the same type of perspective. It's just one is has the polish and quality element to its combat system, where it's very refined, and this one clearly doesn't. They put in a good enough or it works kind of mentality into the combat system when it needed lots of sophistication and lots of polish and refinement, and they decided not to go that route. Probably because it would have required them redoing some of their animations, attack
yeah,
animations for the characters, but more importantly for the enemies. And
right.
that's a big budget drop, right? That's not something that coders are going to be able to fix. They need to get the code. Not only do they have to get the coders involved, they got to get the coders involved, and they got to get the artists involved at a minimum.
Right. Yeah, I had a bit of an issue with some of the combat, and I know like I wasn't sure like what attacks were gonna hit me, when they were gonna hit me, so it was a bit of a situation there. One of the things that you're also given is a form of ranged combat in terms of guns, but it's very very limited in, into what you can do, and essentially it's kind of an added aspect that probably didn't even need to be added, to be honest with you. What did you think on the ranged combat?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was very unnecessary. It did offer, when I remembered to use it, it did give me an option to
yeah,
to take out enemies that were almost dead. But other than that, it was kind of meaningless.
yeah.
Uh, I barely used it. I don't think I used it for the first Acolyte. I didn't even use it for the second Acolyte, although it might have been useful. The second Acolyte, by the way, is broken. It's
Yes.
just such a ridiculously hard fight, and that's where I just gave up on the game. Like it was unfairly hard. The time that it gives you to react to attacks
Mhm.
is so minimal, and you have to be so precise. And even then, the boss can attack as frequent as you can dodge, giving you almost no opportunity
It was
to,
way, yeah,
dodge and attack
way
as a
too
reaction.
fast.
That
Yeah,
second acolyte is where I dropped from the game. Like
it was too overbearing. Yeah,
it was way too overbearing.
yeah.
And the game itself is not hard, except for that second acolyte. That second acolyte was where it was just a massive difficulty spike, but not in a good way. It was a difficulty spike because it was so unpolished and so bad at giving you control, because the controls themselves and how the combat works and how the hitboxes work uh, was just so bad in hitbox design, the timing of attacks, lingering hitboxes, all
Hmm.
that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you get past that boss?
I did. It took me a long time.
Yeah.
It took me a while. I'm about almost at the third acolyte, I feel. Uh, so yeah, it I think we got a big enough taste of the game to know what we're gonna get at this point, right?
Yeah, and it's also very repetitive too.
Yeah.
The areas that you go to, they're not as diverse as you would like them to be.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the pier area, the caves too. I mean, yeah, pretty much. I forget about the garden was probably the worst one.
Yeah,
That
they're
little
all.
maze garden one.
Yeah, the maze thing is just you weren't sure what you could traverse or not. That sort of stuff. Everything kind of just blended in. Um, but I do wish there was more in terms of range combat. Maybe not so much magic, but like more to your guns, things of that nature.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
what were your thoughts on the progression system?
It was. It
Thought I
was.
lost you for a second.
Yeah, it was buggy.
It was very it was very basic. Like I didn't know when I was gonna get skill points. Like I had no idea um when that was gonna happen. It just kind of happened. Or you get a skill point, and what you can upgrade was very, again, you can upgrade your health bar, stamina, how fast your stamina regenerates, and I'm forgetting one or two things. But
Well, you upgrade the, what are they, runes or blessings? They're
blessing,
blessings,
they're
right? Yeah.
blessings,
You
yeah.
upgrade the blessings, and then the blessings, like you'll get a blessing that increases your max health, and
Yeah.
then you can level up that blessing as you dump more skill points into it. But the way that how it indicates the amount of skill points you have to put into a blessing,
So
the
confusing.
it doesn't make sense at all.
I know as you progressively put points into a blessing, they cost more skill points. I know that is a thing. I just didn't know when that happened. You know what I mean? There
Yeah,
was no indication as to what things cost.
it was so weird. I didn't with it. I didn't know how much things cost. There were times where I dumped in some points. I couldn't dump in anymore because the next level up for a blessing was whatever it was. It cost 4 or 5 points. I don't know because it didn't indicate to me. And
Right.
then I quit out of that menu. I go back into the menu, and I can level up that same rune. It was weird. Like I said, it's buggy or glitched in some way.
Right. And it took a while for you to even get to that point in the game too. I want to say it was right before the first acolyte that
No, it
that
was
you
right
were.
after.
Was it right after?
Yeah, you start getting the blessings right after the first acolyte.
That's right. You are right. And so it took a while before that. And then I'm like, when am I going to be able? I'm getting all these skill points.
Yeah.
When am I going to be able to use them? I'm getting all these runes. Now the runes, what they are, they're upgrades to your weapons. I was getting all these runes. I'm like, when am I going to be able to use these? Like, were you able to use yours?
Yeah, apparently, and the game doesn't really convey this at all, you use them immediately.
So you can't use them when they're in your menu?
No, you can, yeah. But the game doesn't indicate this at all, and that kind of upset me. But I mean, I figured it out relatively early. But yeah, you can utilize them immediately as soon as you pick up those runes. You can socket. You dump them into your weapon.
It doesn't work for me then.
It
I
should.
I
I forgot
I
how I had to do it, but
see.
yeah,
I selected my runes, and you're able to like kind of pick it up. It works like the Resident Evil inventory system.
you
Kind of
pick it
yours.
up
Yep.
and then you drop it right onto your weapon.
It doesn't work. It clangs. It makes a clanging sound, and it never goes onto my weapon.
Well, your weapon needs to have
Yep.
sockets on it,
It looks like it has sockets. I have some of the boss weapons. Um, I think they have sockets.
and the sockets have to be empty.
It doesn't tell me if they look empty. I don't know.
Well, if
I,
you hover
I've
over, you'll notice if there's like
yeah.
gems in it or not.
I've tried it on a number of swords, and I've tried it on a number of weapons, and I still couldn't get those runes to go onto anything.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's a bug on my end or if I'm just doing something wrong. I have no idea. Um,
That weapon drop system and the runes, the weapons and the runes, that is different from Souls-like games because you got RNG uh, loot drops. You got random loot.
yeah,
So, and they can have different properties to them, especially the gems, and you can get different rarities of gear. So,
yeah. Well, Dark Souls does do that as well. They don't do it with the like specific like a gear won't have random properties. They'll have the same properties, but it won't always drop for you. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, that's not randomized loot, not random loot drops,
Yeah.
randomized loot.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So what else can we talk about in Morbid? Like, let's talk about aesthetically.
It's good looking, but not as good looking, and it seems like the best looking part of the game is the opening, and it just gets uglier as you progress, and not in a good way because man, that garden area was ugly.
The maze.
Yeah, that garden maze, it was just ugly. It was just not pleasant at all.
Yeah. Yeah, there wasn't much contrast there, so everything really kind of, like I said, blended in. But you're right, the beginning area minus the dock area looked really good. I will say that the enemy design is interesting. The boss design I think is really cool.
Yep.
But yeah, it's the boss design, pixel art designs look really good. Um what else? The music is forgettable. I think it's more atmospheric type of stuff.
It's
Uh,
garbage.
yeah, it's okay. It's a little less than serviceable, I would say. I wish there was more to it, but you again, even in Souls-like fashion, you generally get the music feels when you're doing the boss fights. So I think they took a little bit of that and put it into Morbid here. Um,
Yeah, but I just don't like their choice because it's the music you're hearing most of the time,
mhm,
and it's not, to me, it just loops very quickly, and it's not interesting at all to listen to, and it gets old because it has that it's trying to play up that atmosphere, that horror atmosphere feel,
yeah,
and because of the short loop, it just becomes monotonous.
yeah, yeah. Okay. You got anything else left to say on Morbid here?
Yeah, it's a big shame that the game didn't turn out not even close to what I was hoping it was going to turn out. It's a game that needed way more time refining and polishing pretty much everything,
Yeah.
but most importantly, the combat. It just doesn't feel right at all, and I'm okay with the slowness of the combat. It's really those hitboxes that is just terrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrible.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. Do you want to score this on a base 10? How do you want to do this?
Sure, we can do a 0 to 100, but on a 10-point scale.
Okay, so why don't we just do base 10 or 1 through 10?
Because I want to do, like a point, like number, point, number.
All right, go ahead.
We can do percentiles. How about a percentile?
All right, do percentile. Sure. What's
There
your
we go.
percentile?
Oh, geez. For this game, I would have to give it like a. I'd have to give it like a 57 percentile.
Yeah, I was kind of leaning, 55, 60 percentile. I do think there's a little bit to be desired here.
And to clarify for everyone, that's out of 100%.
Yes, out of 100%. So it's getting basically, a 6 on a 10 score. I may
Not a 6. It's a 57 for me.
sure.
So I'll go lower if it means not hitting being rounded up to 6. I'll go lower.
No, it's fine. I would say this is little. It's not a great game. It's not a good game. It's an okay game. That's kind of how I would put it. There's
Oof,
some
I might have to go lower. I think like 51%
okay.
is probably because I can't even say that this is an okay game. It's a game that,
Should be avoided right now.
yeah, like I would say about 4 hours in, 3 to 4 hours into the game, you're gonna feel bad that you bought it.
Yeah, and the price is what? What is it right now? 20,
20
is it
bucks, I think.
$20?
20 or 25.
Yeah, maybe a pass.
Yeah, yeah, it's a definite pass. It's not gonna be in. You can find enjoyment in the game, but for half of the people out there, you're not going to enjoy this.
Yeah. First off, you got to be a Souls-like fan. Um Otherwise you're just going to be majorly disappointed.
Yeah.
And then even then if you're expecting Souls-like refinement or quality, you're just not going to get it here. All right. That is our review of Morbid the 7 Acolytes. So we'll continue on with the show. We have some new game announcements. First off, we're hitting Nosha. Is it Nosha? Invades the Nintendo Switch early 2021. This is on RPGFan.com. Among your space crew is a single imposter, an alien who shouldn't be there. The question is, who is it? In Nosha, you decide just that in this quirky visual novel, originally released on the PlayStation Vita in Japan. So this is we're seeing a lot of these right now and lately. I think the popularity is increasing on these visual novel RPGs, basically dialogue trees. that's that's basically that's what I call them. But
They are everywhere on Steam. Everywhere.
yeah,
Like
they're
half of the new games that release on Steam are visual novels.
yeah.
Like literally half.
Like I said, they're gaining a lot of popularity. They really are. And this is set for the Nintendo Switch sometime early 2021. And it's kind of it's got a different art style than I typically see in a lot of these visual novels. Looks kind
Yeah,
of
the art's good.
yeah,
Huh.
looks interesting.
And if this is the start of more PSP games getting ported over to the Switch,
Hmm.
yeah, keep them coming because the PSP had so many great games, and more importantly, some of the best RPGs out there.
A lot of RPGs.
A
A
lot.
lot of Square and Sony really love the PlayStation Vita and portable.
They had two different consoles.
I
Vita
said
wasn't so good. Portable was really good.
Well, Vita has that whole island. I want to know what's going on over there. Dark fantasy Metroidvania Ender Lilies is leaping onto the Nintendo Switch. Nintendo Life has a little bit of an article. It's a dark action RPG Ender Lilies. This is Japanese publisher Binary Haze Interactive has revealed its plans to bring the upcoming Metroidvania Ender Lilies to the Switch next year. And again, it's got a really cool aesthetic, really cool art style. I don't know how it's going to play. It almost reminds me of Child of Light and Bloodstained. Like if you were to mash those together, that's what that's what I'm thinking of when you look
Yeah,
at this.
yeah, it makes sense.
But yeah, it looks really cool. Take a
It
look.
looks good. It's a Metroidvania. I'm a sucker for those style games.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually looks like it plays well. So yeah, this is something to keep an eye on, especially for me, because this is the kind of game that I'm a fan of.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, that is called Ender Lilies. We got one more. To the Moon follow up, Finding Paradise announced for the Switch. Now, To the Moon is basically, I'm going to call it a isometric visual novel. There's no combat in To the Moon. There's a lot of dialogue in there, but again, you're kind of playing out this game again. It's pixel art isometric. You're kind of playing this all out with just dialogue. I did play To the Moon. It was an interesting game, but again, it's in that it's a different take on the visual novel. There's a little more interactivity.
It's more there's exploration element.
Yeah, there you go, bingo. So this is the second episode of the To the Moon series called Finding Paradise, and I don't see spring 2021, so coming out soon. Before you know, it'll be here. All right, so do we have any upcoming RPGs? Maybe in the next week or so. What do we got?
Let's see. What is today? Okay.
Anything worth talking about right now?
I don't know. I see one with a grid, but I don't know if it's gonna be good.
Yeah. Well, I'll just very briefly go over these. So we have Isolation Story, December 22nd. Not sure what this is all about. Again, it looks like it might be another visual novel. Again, in the To the Moon, in that same kind of exploration-based visual novel. Maybe. I'm not sure. That is $9.99. And I don't know anything else. Have you looked?
The Dungeon Limbus one looks like a be a decent enough roguelike,
Okay.
or just a straight up rogue game, a dungeon, the old school dungeon crawler. You move one space, enemies move
Yeah.
one space type thing.
Yeah, let's just say it is going to be a tough week for Nintendo Switch RPGs.
Actually, I'm looking at that Dungeon Limbus one. I'm gonna say this: if there is hope this week, that's probably the game.
And it's the 28th, so it's not even this week technically. It's we got 10 days. But you're probably right. In the next week or so, maybe even 2 weeks, that might be the only one.
Yeah.
And it's published by Trues. They're the ones who do the Animus games, or publish the Animus games. So this was probably a mobile game, if I had to guess. Dungeon
Well,
Limbus.
we briefly talked about it last time we had a podcast, but Monster Sanctuary, turns out the reviews are out for that game. That game's good.
Yeah.
That game's real good.
Yep.
So
Yep. I'm talking to, I think it's Elinza that's doing it for Switchrpg, and she's having a really good time with it. So I think there's a lot of promise for Monster Sanctuary if you're into those monster hunting games or monster collecting games, not hunter games. um, so yeah, Monster Sanctuary looks like it'll pretty good, and it's fairly inexpensive. I would say $20 is probably a pretty good price for that.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So let's get some news real fast, like in the rundown. Bravely Default 2, the final demo is out again. So the demo has been re-released. You can actually get, if you're into like the Nintendo point system, they have platinum points, they have gold points. Gold points can be redeemed for money towards buying games, and the platinum points are basically used to, you can get some physical items, digital items on Nintendo.com. They have some other purposes too. But you can get 100 free platinum points by playing this demo. And they've done some improvements to it, I think.
No, it's
There's,
different. It's actually the opening chapter to the game is
okay.
the demo.
Well, there you
So
go. So there's reason to play it then.
yeah, it's the first cut of the game and what the legitimate game is going to be like. So it's it's kind of like a prologue of sorts. So if you don't like what's on that demo, then probably this game ain't going to be any better when it finally releases. So this will be very if you're on the fence on this game and need a nudge in a direction of yes or no, get the demo. I'm actually going to get this demo and fire it up, and because I'm on that fence of getting it or not.
Yeah.
And if I don't like what I play in the demo, then I'll probably not get the main game.
I'm into the Bravely Default games, so I'm probably gonna get this game. Now the bigger question, I think, for me anyway, is does the progress carry over to the full game? I'm not seeing that in this article here on NintendoLife.com. I haven't seen it anywhere actually. So the incentive for me to play this is very minimum because I don't want to waste my time playing the demo and not have that progress carry over. So
Yep.
I don't know. We'll see. I might just play it. That's just the me thing. So who knows? But yeah, you get that demo now. If you're playing Hades, you may want to know that cross save support is now live for the Switch. If you remember playing, there was, I think it was on the bottom left where it said something about cross save or something for that purpose. I think it was the bottom left. Anyway, you can play cross saves on the Switch.
With PC.
Yes, sorry, with PC. Now, why not with Xbox or PlayStation?
It's not out yet
It isn't
on. Yeah, I don't think it's out yet on Xbox or PS4 or the new ones.
the new ones.
The new ones.
All right. So yeah, cool. You got the cross save support there now. All right, next we have Scott Pilgrim versus the World game complete edition coming out January 14th.
That's real soon.
Very, very soon. Are you a
Yeah,
fan of
less than a
these?
month.
Are you a fan of these games at all? Have you played them?
Well, it's just one game. Uh,
Oh, okay.
and this is basically the all the DLC type stuff all packaged together.
That's it.
And this game was, I guess, no one really thought it was ever gonna get released again because it got pulled because of licensing issues. Either way, it's kind of like Double Dragon or River City Ransom,
Uh-huh.
and it has the RPG uh, level up mechanics that is very similar to River City Ransom. So it's a beat 'em up game, and as you defeat enemies, you can collect money, and you can get money in other ways too. And then you can use that money to go into like stores and buy food, and the food you buy gives you permanent stat increases. So the money is your experience, but it's also how you can buy stuff. So you get the
Hmm.
money and then you use your money to buy stuff that makes you better.
Interesting. This sounds like something I'd really, really enjoy. I absolutely love the movie.
And it's got
Um,
4-player co-op.
Online, maybe?
Uh, I didn't do the co-op online, but I think it is online.
Okay. So yeah, Ubisoft has confirmed the release date for Scott Pilgrim vs. the World Game Complete Edition. You'll be able to get your hands on the game Thursday, 14th of January. And it's going to be available only digitally. This would seem like the one of the games you'd want to have physically. Like I think you could just do so much with this game and all the little stuff that to come along with a physical game. All right, cool.
You could, but I think that those licensing issues that they had is probably the
Yeah.
reason why they can't do physical.
Oh boy, dang licensing issues holding everything up. Okay. Next we have Persona 5 Strikers coming to the Switch February 23rd, and we got a little trailer for this. When did we get the trailer? Was it for an event or we just got it out of the blue? Might have been out of the
Uh,
blue.
what's that?
Might have been out of the blue. Yeah.
I'm not sure when it the trailer came out.
Okay. But it's coming out physically as well. There's steelbook editions, all sorts of digital deluxe editions. But this was also one of those games. I think you had mentioned it before we before I hit record that this was one of the games that was coming out in Japan, and it was like, all right, when is it coming out and for us here? And we finally got it. So hold your dang horses, guys. It's coming out February 23rd.
Pretty soon.
Very, very soon. So yeah, you can pre-order physical editions. I'm surprised they're actually doing physical editions for this. I don't know. Persona just seems like a niche thing to me anyway. And then
Nah, this is definitely
excuse me.
deserves a physical. You
Yeah.
kidding me?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but it has all these other things. Like it has a digital deluxe, it has steel books, it has all this other stuff.
Yeah, but a game like this that you know is going to be gigs in size,
Gig.
my personal preference is to have it physical because this is a luxury of the Switch that other consoles, a feature of the Switch that other consoles don't have. Like, you the games, because it's on cartridge, you don't most of them you don't actually need to install on your local storage,
Right.
so you save yourself on buying new storage.
Yeah. And hopefully we see a new because this is one of those Musu games, right? Or Misu games, the warrior type games. I
Yep.
think I think with Breath of the Wild, they're kind of doing something a little different with their games. They're a little more story intensive, and this one almost seems that way as well.
Yeah, it definitely does. Yeah.
Yeah, so I like the direction that they're kind of going. So very cool. All right, so we did have an indie world showcase this past week, and we had no news for us. I mean, there was some interesting stuff, like we had Among Us, announced. That's kind of a big game right now. Are you into some of these other games that were
uh,
announced?
I have the original Super Meat Boy, so they finally announced the Super Meat Boy 2 for the Switch. Uh, that I would play that, but I'm not gonna get it.
Yeah.
But if it ends up being super cheap, and if I'm jonesing to play a game like that, then maybe. But there's been so many precision based platformers that have released since the first Super Meat Boy that, oh my goodness, I've already played so many of them, and really good ones like Celeste,
Mhm.
that I don't think I need to experience Super Meat Boy forever. Spelunky, I'm definitely, well, Spelunky 2 more specifically, I am definitely looking forward to, because I missed out on the first Spelunky and I heard lots of great stuff about it. And Spelunky 2 is also great, and I haven't played that yet, so I'm excited for that one. That's the one that I'm really excited for.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm glad that you have something to be excited about. But I don't know. I just
And Grindstone is another one.
yeah, Grindstone does look interesting. I think of all the games that might even be. I think that's just more puzzle based. That's not an RPG, right? That doesn't have RPG mechanics in it.
No, it's a very actiony puzzle game, but
Yeah,
it's not an RPG.
yeah. We were left in the dark,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Cyber
And
Shadow
you
does
know
look
what? Cyber
interesting, though.
Shadow.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's made by the Shovel Knight people, or at least published by the Shovel Knight people. So that I'm super excited for because Yacht Club Games, they made Shovel Knight, and they do quality and they can deliver. So
right. And apparently, if you scan your amiibo, like you can get like some of the move sets of what Shovel Knight can do, like the pounding on people and whatnot. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. The rest of the stuff is just a little bit too memey or just not meant for me. Like cat games, there's not one but two different cat games. The Very Very Valet and the Time game, the Happy game. Like these are not, they're not for me
Yeah.
at all. uh,
Yeah.
the Tunche could be interesting. It just doesn't look like it's going to have the polish for me, but that could be a game I could get into because it's a beat 'em up, right?
Yeah.
So that's like everyone's comfort food right there. Are beat 'em ups.
I just wanted other stuff, Johnny. It just wanted other stuff.
It was a very disappointing indie though. This is probably the most disappointing indie, unless you are an Among Us fan. That's a big deal.
Right.
That's a very big deal.
Well, my kids are, and I immediately had to buy 2 copies of that for my kids, but
Yeah.
that's it. They're children, though. They're not me. Anyway, moving on. The Game Awards also happened. The Game Awards. Did you were you able to watch the Game Awards?
Yep. I
Eh,
watched it.
okay. I wasn't able to fully watch it because I also had my tabletop session that night, so I was just kind of keeping up with the winners and the losers. Any thoughts on anything? I mean, it was just different, right? Because
It
you had
was
nobody
different. I,
there.
I actually, it was probably the most enjoyable version of the Game Awards, but man, just way too much Hollywood people there, way too much propaganda, corporate selling stuff, and I get it. But why do we need Hollywood people there? It's just so like
Because they're
shoved.
gamers. They're gamers.
They're not gamers. They're
They're
not gamers.
they're
They're not.
gamers.
They need to go away. Like we don't need. Vin Diesel can stay. He's fine. He's got credit. Right?
Does he?
Yeah. Vin Diesel is like a hardcore
Gamer?
gamer.
Don't say I hate that word.
He's a DM.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah. He can beat ET. Not only does he play ET, he knows how to beat that game. That garbage game.
Yeah.
Vin Diesel's legit. But for like all the other Hollywood celebs that show up there, like get out, go away. We don't need you. I don't need you for anything. I don't want you in my life ever. And every time you show up in my life, it makes me vomit a little bit.
A little bit. All right.
So there was a little bit of vomit that happened during the Game Awards, but I do like this less showboaty presentation
Yeah.
because it was less showboaty than last year. It
Yeah.
was less pompous and less of being full of itself, and it seemed like it could get through the 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 fluff faster and show gameplay trailers, which is really what it's all about.
Right.
And it showed a lot of gameplay trailers. And by the way, I was right. My prediction was right.
What? What are you talking about?
I said that there was either going to be a Metroid thing or Perfect Dark at the Game Awards.
that was a complete shot in the dark.
It wasn't. It wasn't because there was rumors of Perfect Dark, and I nailed it. I nailed it.
Oh man.
And I like what they're doing with it. They're basically doing a complete reboot of the
Yes,
Perfect Dark
yes.
franchise.
It needed that, right? You don't want to go into an old franchise just kind of doing the really like the same thing, right? Just make it a new, like make it all new again, you know?
Make it reimagine it from the
Yep.
ground up. Don't forget the core of the first Perfect Dark, because
Sure.
still to this day, that is my favorite first-person shooter. No question. That's it right there. Perfect Dark.
Mm-hmm.
That game is absolutely fantastic. It is a perfect game. Perfect first-person shooter.
Now, what are your thoughts on the winner of the best RPG? It was Final Fantasy VII Remake.
That's garbage.
Hot garbage, yeah.
It shouldn't have won that.
No. Yeah, I felt
I
like
get
they were,
why, but it shouldn't have won.
yeah. I mean, I've heard people say that's not even really like an RPG. I mean, I've never played it. I wouldn't know, but that's just what I heard.
What, that Final Fantasy's not an RPG?
Final Fantasy VII Remake is kind of a weak RPG.
Oh, it's totally an RPG, but
Yeah.
it's very linear, very linear. It plays out in chapters, so
Yeah.
there's sequences, and then at some point you can kind of go back and forth in chapters, and especially
Okay.
after you beat the game, you can replay all the chapters and finish up all the side quests type of stuff. Um, but yeah, it's kind of weird too. It's like the earlier part of the game is more open ended for you to do free roaming and exploration type stuff, and then it has like two main game where there's a lot where it like widens up on options that you can do for like exploration and side quests, and then it narrows into like a corridor of very linear events that occur, and then it widens up again, and then it goes back into another corridor, and that's it. Like you go through that to the ending.
Nah. Well, that's too bad.
It's a very good experience to go through. It's definitely a well done game. It doesn't live up to the hype at all. It falls very short.
Okay. Well, that's who won RPG of the year, but there were a lot more announcements than, again, I think it's just the format um allowing for it. But we, like I was saying, we did have a Monster Hunter Rise with a new trailer. And they also announced that we're getting a demo coming up soon. I think that's saying it's going to be
January.
available, yeah, January 2021. So that's hopefully sooner rather than later January.
Well,
So
that's a whole lot sooner than I thought, because the game's going to release in March 26th.
yeah,
So we're going to get a demo. We're going to be able to play that game 2 months, maybe more,
hmm,
earlier than the release of the game. That's super exciting. I can't wait
yeah,
for that demo to come out. I can't wait for the game itself to come out. It looks incredible. That new trailer was just really hammering in like you're going to fight so many new monsters, so many weird monsters, and existing monsters are back. This is a definitive Monster Hunter experience. It just reaffirmed, yes, this is definitive. This is what you know about Monster Hunter, plus all these new gameplay elements that we're adding in with the weird spider web slinging mechanic thing that you can do and get very vertical, that's going to be awesome.
yeah. There's a lot to this new game that's coming out, and they've also, since the Game Awards, have been releasing a lot more gameplay of certain weapon types. They've revealed 2 new monsters, I think, at some point. So they're kind of trickling in a lot of information on us here. But guys, just leave us some surprises, please, please, please,
Ah,
please.
there's so many monsters in a Monster Hunter game.
All
Like
right, all
revealing
right.
the monster doesn't, one or two here or there, three. Even if they reveal 10, there's going to be another 30, 40 more.
Really?
There's so many. There's so many monsters in a Monster Hunter. Also, when they reveal a monster, that there's going to be color variations or like subtle. Like one might have like a crown or a mohawk or something like that. Like there'll be like subtle changes, and that causes a fundamental difference in fighting a monster. There might be like a monster that was electrical and now it's fire. There's a monster that was fire but now it's ice.
Oh,
So there's like elemental changes and stuff like that. It's the same monster, but very different fight. There might be
interesting.
some similarities in the move set, but there'll be enough differences in the move set that you have to learn it and treat it, handle it as a very different fight.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
also where you fight monsters, which environment you're in, can make a very big difference because there's in previous games there's been volcano environments, so you have to worry about heat damage. There's been ice environments, so you have to worry about cold damage. There's been environments that have poison stuff all over the place, so you got to worry about that. Oh yeah, I
wow.
am excited.
March can't come soon enough, right?
No, I can't. Well, January for the demo.
Yeah, January for the demo, but we won't get our hands on the full game quite
I
yet.
wonder if the demo's gonna have online functionality.
I'm wondering if the demo is gonna carry over. That's always one of my things.
It's not gonna carry over.
Oh, all
That
right.
I can almost guarantee.
I'll still play it.
Because because you want to know why? It's because Monster Hunter. The one problem that Monster Hunter games have is that they are so slow on getting to the good stuff. And if they do a demo of the opening stuff, they're basically doing a demo of the worst stuff possible.
Yeah. So maybe they'll just put you into a few fights and call it a day.
That's usually how they're, because I've played multiple Monster Hunter demos. That's usually how they are. They start you off with some gear, some set of gear or multiple sets of gear with multiple weapon types,
Yeah.
and they say go against this monster, and then you
Not
hunt it down and do all that stuff. You don't. If it's your first time, you're not gonna know what you're doing at all,
that'll be me.
but it'll be great.
Awesome. We did have another announcement that I kind of wanted to discuss here. Ruined King, we talked about this, I think it was the last episode. Ruined King, a League of Legends story, gets a gameplay trailer. So we hadn't had a gameplay. We had an opening cinematic or a cinematic trailer. Now we have some gameplay from the guys, Airship Syndicate, who did Battle Chasers Night War. I'm going to be honest, this was really, really disappointing.
Really?
Yes. I
Why is that?
love I love Battle Chasers, and I don't know if you recall, I wanted I wanted Airship Syndicate to do what they do best in a Battle Chasers game and bring it over to Ruined King, but I didn't want them to replicate it almost exactly. Like,
I see.
this is essentially a different paint coat of paint on Battle Chasers. Like,
Yeah, the combat looks identical
the
to
combat
Battle
is
Chasers.
almost identical, the overworld is almost identical. It's just the same. Like, I didn't want the exact same thing. Like they did Darksiders Genesis, which is a total different thing than Battle Chaser. So I'm like, all right, what else can they do? I did like Battle Chaser, but I didn't want the same thing. I wanted something different. This is just, I don't know. It's just so disappointing for me.
Oh man, that's not good.
I mean, visually it's got everything I liked. I love the kind of the hand drawn type of stuff.
Yeah.
I think Joe does a really good job with that. It's just, again, it's just more of the same, and they could have done something different, and they didn't. Like the world seems like what they showed off. Like it just seems empty, like the overworld, and that's kind of what Battle Chasers was. But again, it was their first game. Um, oh man, Take a look at it, guys. Let me know what you think. If you at all like Battle Chasers, I mean, maybe you'll like this because it's essentially the same. But anyway, that was Ruined King. Certainly ruined for me. Disco Elysium, the final cut announced for PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox Series X, Series S. I'm just going to go through the whole thing. Xbox One, PC, Stadia, and the Switch. Finally.
Yeah.
This was announced so long ago that it was coming to the Switch. It was in either an Indie World or a Nintendo Direct that was coming to the Switch, and we still
It
have to
almost
wait.
feels like it was last year it was announced for the Switch.
Yeah,
Almost.
so long ago. So yeah, this was. Go ahead.
Oh, and this one game of the year last year,
Yeah,
right?
or even or was it RPG of the year?
Yeah, that's what I meant to say. RPG of the year, and it shouldn't. It should have been Fire Emblem. Just
Yeah.
pointing out there, should have been Fire Emblem. Although I'm okay with this game winning it, but Fire Emblem should have at least been a nominee. Either way, yeah, now it's finally coming to the Switch, so we're getting a Game of the Year RPG for the Switch in March of this upcoming March.
Yeah. And we're getting the same edition that everyone else is getting, hopefully. The Final Cut is what it's called. Its Final Cut adds full voice acting to the game, various NPCs, as well as new guests and areas to explore. You can take a look at the trailer on the Disco Elysium YouTube channel.
Oh, sorry, I need to make a correction. The PlayStation version is in March. The Switch version is sometime in summer. So
Yeah.
apologies.
So yeah.
So it is a bit of ways.
Okay, yeah, we're getting a delayed release here. Well, that stinks. But I mean, it is for all intents and purposes, it is a pretty good RPG. From what I've
See
heard.
how much they're charging for that collector's edition?
No, where
$250.
Wow.
Yeah.
What, and they don't even have they don't have it all sorted out, right? So they don't have everything that's getting included for all of that.
It says a bunch of stuff. Innovative layers of the ID premium box. Hand-painted Mind Totem vinyl sculpture.
It says a bunch of stuff. Like, you really, I mean, does that at all look like it's worth $250?
No.
No.
Not at all.
I mean, I've seen other collector's edition for $250 that are well worth it. This, I'm not sure about that.
Yeah.
It might be because it's a limited run. That might have a lot to do with it, but I don't know. That certainly would be a collector's edition I would go for.
It's fine. Look, they charge $250. If it sells, it doesn't sell. It doesn't impact me either way. I do not care if they sell it for $500 or for $5. It doesn't matter to me. Right. Although if it was $5 for the collector's edition, I probably would have scooped it up.
Yeah, I probably would have too. All right, so that is going to do it for the news. We have our main topic to discuss, which is we did a review. Now we're gonna go for our most anticipated 2021 RPG, as well as our 2001 Nintendo Switch RPG. So we're gonna give kind of a mix bag here of our most anticipated RPGs coming up for next year. For the next year, yeah.
Yep.
You have 4.
I got 4. Yep.
All right. Yeah.
We got 5.
Well, we have one that's the same. So
we got a dupe.
A duplicate.
You're deleting your dupe?
No, I'm not deleting my dupe. You just say the dupe, your dupe last. So it'll be like one of those things called a segue. You know.
Okay.
All right. What do you got?
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna save my dupe last.
Please.
All
right.
Well, all right. So I'm gonna go with games that. So I'm just gonna announce all my games. I guess I'll announce them one at a time. All right. There's 2 games that are definitely we know for sure is coming out this year. And
Yep.
then there's 2 that are likely to come out this year, but there is a very slight chance that they won't. Okay, so uh, the one game, and I'm going to call this out right now, and this is a game that's on both our lists
Okay.
because we just talked about it. It's Monster Hunter Rise.
Mm-hmm.
We're both super stoked for it. We're looking forward to it. It's going to be your first Monster Hunter experience. It's going to be my like gajillionth Monster Hunter experience. I can't get enough of it. It's going to be absolutely fantastic, and we are going to play this game together.
Okay. I'm down with that. Might even record it, stream it. Who knows?
Oh yeah, it's going to be a blast. I can't wait. There's so many different weapon types. I usually stick with lance or gun lance. I might do that again because I just love gun lance so much. I just love making like cannon explosions in the middle of combat. It's just so cool. And reloading my lance. You
Doesn't it?
slap it on the ground and like bullets, empty shells fly out.
Yeah, yeah. It's a big lumbering thing, right? I mean,
Yeah.
seems like all those weapons are big lumbering things, but yeah.
Well, it's that and a big giant shield, so it's like the tankiest setup that you can do. Lance is a bit better. You're more nimble as a tank with the same protection, but gun lance gives you the firepower.
Yeah. That is cool. Yeah, we got two ends of the spectrum, right? Like you said, you got the experience. You're going to be teaching me. I'm going to be like a young Padawan here, and
Yep.
hopefully, I learn good things from you and not bad things from you. Well,
That's the best way. If you're a newcomer to Monster Hunter, the best way is to have some Jedi teach the Padawan.
okay,
That's the
all
best way.
right, yeah. Well, I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
All right. Another game that I've talked about so much, and I am so stoked for this game because this series has been stagnant for so long. Not that they haven't been releasing games, just the games that they've been releasing has just been kind of run of the mill. And this is the new one, and they clearly took their time with this one. Brand new engine, all that stuff. And that is Tales of Arise. It's definitely coming out this year. I am so excited for it.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, it's not coming to Switch, but oh man. Oh man. I cannot wait. The game looks incredible. Absolutely incredible. They're taking the this is the new generation of Tales games. And I don't mind if they riff off of this new game and the engine that they're building it off of, as long as it does well
hmm
and works well. I don't mind if they riff off of this for another like 3 or 4 iterations because this will be the new foundation for Tales, and I'm just so excited for it.
yeah. I'm actually excited for this one as well. I I wasn't too into the last Tales of experience that I played. In Tales of Vesperia, I wasn't much of a fan of the combat there, but this one just looks very, very different. And we actually got some news as of 3 days ago saying that Tales of Arise enters the final stages of development.
Uh,
Um,
oh yeah.
so that gives you more of an indication that it probably will come out 2021. Hopefully, obviously sooner rather than later. But they do say that they're planning on releasing new information in the near future.
Yep.
So,
And there's been so many Tales games on Nintendo platforms. The very first Tales game in the entire franchise started on a Nintendo platform.
mhm.
So it's in all uh, a good portion of the major Tales releases have been on the Nintendo platform. Tales of Symphonia was
Yep.
first released on the GameCube. It's been incredible. There was a questionnaire that went out to Tales fans where Namco asked a bunch of the Tales community what their favorites of such and such within the franchise is, and the number one voted Tales combat game, where they loved that combat system the most, was of course Tales of Grace's F. And I'm like clapping. I'm like, you got it right. Fans.
The community got
We
it
got
right.
it right. We got it right.
Uh,
Because that was the correct answer.
what would be 2? Would it be Fantasia?
The well, now we're going into my opinion type stuff. I would say the next best combat in Tales is probably Abyss.
Okay.
Abyss has a really good combat system. And then I would say Vesperia. Vesperia is really good too.
Yeah.
And then we go into like Berseria is really good. It's not the best, but Berseria is really good. And then Symphonia I really liked. I did not like Zillia. Zillia was kind of a letdown. And then I would go with like Destiny, and I would put Fantasia closer towards the bottom, just because it was the first one, so there wasn't like
They were
all the
learning.
nuances and complexity there.
Sure. Yeah. Cool. All right. What do you got? What do you got next?
All right, now these games, I know one of them is most likely going to come out this year, and the other one is questionable, but it's been in development long enough that I think it's also going to come out this year. So, shocker, Breath of the Wild 2. And this is, by the way, Breath of the Wild 2 is my number one out of everything coming out this year. That's my number one, like, by a lot. It's a sequel to the greatest game ever made. It's a sequel to the greatest RPG ever made. It's a sequel to the greatest uh, adventure, action, exploration, you name it, game ever made. It just was the number one in so many different categories. It's absolutely phenomenal. It is the RPG that all other RPGs need to learn from and try to reincorporate and capture the magic that was Breath of the Wild. So I just absolutely can't wait for it. It's going to be incredible.
If only it was an RPG. Now, what I really like about Breath of the Wild is like people are still like discovering like new things. Like I saw a YouTube video, I forget exactly what it was, but like people are just exploring and like doing different stuff, like and discovering new stuff all the time. It's just crazy, like with like the amount of experimentation people are doing with Breath of the Wild. It's awesome to see.
Yeah, yeah. So it looking forward to it. And then the other one, just because I never played, and this is a remake, a complete remake of the very first game in the franchise. I've only played the sequel to it. They never made a 3, although they have expanded the franchise into the Bioshock type of series, which is very similar to what this is, which is System Shock. This is
Mm.
the very first System Shock, and it's being completely remade. I am super hyped for it because I definitely want to play the first System Shock. System Shock 2 is absolutely incredible. It continues pretty much immediately after the first System Shock, and yeah, I just want to experience an updated version of the System Shock world and of the villain, because to me, System Shock 2 and System Shock uh, have has the best villain, one of the best villains in all of video gaming. Like, end of story. One of
Who
the best.
who is the villain? Isn't it like an AI or
The villain, I kind of don't want to say
all right,
because
then don't say it. Don't say it.
it's a little bit spoilery, so I don't want to say.
Well, there is a demo on Steam if you wanted to
It is
play
an
the.
AI. It is an AI. That
Okay.
doesn't give away anything. It's an AI, but yeah, it's just well done, well implemented, and they did the same trick in Bioshock and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
everyone praised it. And here I am, like, yeah, System Shock did it first. They did it first. They did it better. So maybe you should play that game as
Mm,
well if you're praising Bioshock.
right. Yeah, like I don't know if you heard. Did you play the demo on Steam?
I believe I did. Yeah, I think I
Okay.
downloaded it and played it. It was very short. It was running. I think they switched the engine because I think that one was running on. I can't remember if it was like Unity or Unreal. It was one of them.
Okay.
And then they made an announcement. This is a while ago. And then they made an announcement that they're switching engines, and I'm like, oh, that's not good.
Wow. Yeah, no kidding, huh?
And the demo was like basic. There was almost nothing there, so
Well,
it
yeah.
wasn't.
From what it
It
says,
was more like a proof of concept.
yeah, it looks like it's a pre-alpha, basically. So,
Yeah, yeah.
all right. So, what else you got?
Oh, that's it for my most anticipated games. I mean, I could have selected a whole lot more,
Yeah,
but I kind of left it a relatively limited list. So
yeah.
what's on your list?
Well, I also have Monster Hunter Rise. For the same reasons you're excited. You've gotten me excited. I've always wanted to get into a Monster Hunter game. I think though the Monster Hunter game that we have on the Switch doesn't really do anything for me, and this just looks so different. It looks new, it looks refreshing. It looks really good. So I'm really kind of excited for Monster Hunter Rise. And yes, it will be my first true experience for it. I mean, like I said, I've tried the other ones, just not for me. But this one does look different. Another game, I've this was a Kickstarter game for me. I kickstarted it. I think it is coming out in 2021. It's called Chained Echoes. Chained Echoes is a pixel art turn-based RPG, a la like Chrono Trigger. Just not set in. It's like more high fantasy, but there are airships and mechs involved in it as well, so you can update or modify your mechs with augmentations and airships. You can modify cannons and have sky battles and whatnot. But yeah, Chained Echoes. The music is really good. If this isn't on your radar, it definitely should be. I think the pixel art is done well. It's kind of like your Secret of Mana pixel art, but it is turn based, menu driven, of course. There are no random battles, which is nice to see. Every your enemies are placed on the map, although there are some enemies that are unavoidable. But anyway, Chained Echoes is definitely one of them. Another pixel art game a la Chrono Trigger. I don't know when they said this was coming out. I thought it was 2021, but now that I'm thinking of it, I think it might be later. Is Aiden Chronicles, and now I'm gonna have to look that up. Anyway, again, this was another Kickstarter game for me. It blew up on Kickstarter. Did amazingly well. And it's akin to a lot of the Suikoden games, or Suikoden 1 and 2 maybe. And I'm really kind of digging what they're doing here. I think it's the HD 2D thing, but done maybe a little bit better than what Octopath did. I don't know.
Yeah, this game's not coming out next year.
Aiden.
Yeah,
All
no
right.
way.
Okay. Well, just forget I said anything then. Okay. Um, but okay, maybe I was hopeful. I was hopeful. So forget Aiden Chronicles, but please just do take a look at it. Um, Another
I
game.
already did.
What's that?
Are you talking to me or to the audience?
No, I'm talking to the audience. Keep an eye on it, guys. Another game not for Switch, and even Aiden Chronicles. There was something weird in there because of it is coming out 2021. They said we'll release it on a Nintendo Switch platform. Maybe then, if they even have maybe the Switch Pro or the second iteration, whatever it is. So it maybe leads me to believe that it might be a little bit later. Anyway, Elden Ring is one that I'm really excited for, and we haven't even seen gameplay for it.
Yeah,
Uh,
we have no reason to be excited for it, yet
what?
we
Are
still
you
are.
nuts? Of course, there's reason to be excited for it. Um, it has one of the greatest authors behind it. Hopefully, he finishes this one. George R. R. Martin is helping write the game. I don't know where they are with in terms of development. But I'm hopeful that they're close to being done. That way we can see some gameplay as well as play the game in 2021. It's just it's from is it from software? Now
Yep.
I gotta look. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
From Software.
yeah, so it leads me to believe that it's going to be some sort of Souls-like type of combat, and that itself has me super super excited. We may not get another Dark Souls game. We may, this might be it. This might be the next one.
I mean, it looks like it leans visually on just from the trailers.
Mm,
Visually, it looks more like a. I would say it's closest to Dark Souls
yeah,
than to any of the other more modern Souls-like From Software style games.
yeah,
So it's definitely not riffing on Sekiro. It's not riffing on Bloodborne. Dark Souls, I can see the argument there, but Demon Souls kind of looks like the closest one, which is pretty much Demon Souls and Dark Souls are very close to
and
one another anyway.
yeah, and I'll be honest. This might even be a mixture of Sekiro and Dark Souls. It kind of has that the Japanese, a lot
Yeah.
more Japanese influence
I
in it
wouldn't say a lot more. I wouldn't say
than
that.
than typically than what regular Dark Souls has. I would say, yeah. Because Dark Souls has a lot more Western elements for a Japanese development. So I don't know.
Right, but I don't see
You don't see
that
that?
much
Okay.
Eastern, Japanese influence in this. There's like one shot of one kind of samurai looking armor, and that's it.
That's it.
There is a segment they do show I think it's gameplay. They do show I mean, it looks straight out of Demon Souls and Dark Souls. A character in armor with a big giant shield wearing like antler horns walking. So I think they're going to lean towards, and also there's another shot of a lady snapping on a prosthetic arm
Mm-hmm.
of some sort. Uh but the arm I can kind of get thinking maybe that's a Sekiro type of thing. But what if you look at what she's wearing for a helmet, and what this character is wearing for a helmet with the antlers, I'm thinking they might be leaning more towards Nordic.
Yeah. Man, we're getting so many Nordic games. It's like Cyberpunk games and Nordic games. Like, come on. Give us a freaking break.
Oh, it's probably gonna be neither of those things. I think most likely this is gonna be its own world.
Yeah, I hope so too. But man, just the trailers themselves, like they give me so much, and it's what the Dark Souls world is, right? So much of that horror or gothic type of stuff. It's just so so awesome. I love it. Anyway, so that might be a game that might not come out in 2021. Another one that may or may not come in 2021. See, here's the thing though, like our lists, I mean, your list essentially is a lot of what I'm excited for. Aside from System Shock, I don't have any nostalgia with that. It's not a really a me thing. Even Bioshock, I can take it or leave it. But your list is essentially my list. I'm just compounding that with games that are really, really, really far out of development. Sea of Stars is my next one. Sea of Stars is again another Chrono Trigger inspired pixel art turn-based RPG. Again, this was another Kickstarter, another one that broke Kickstarter at the time. I love what they're doing with the lighting here. I forget who are the folks. Oh, Sabotage Studio. That's who it was. Sabotage Studio. They're the folks who did The Messenger, and this is kind of set in the same universe, except it's a very different type of game. Um, I don't know. I just think I like the look and feel of it. I think it's got a really good studio behind it. I'm kind of excited to play. I like a lot of the game mechanics that they're implementing in here. With the brother and sister protagonists.
Oh yeah, the game looks incredible, and yeah, I'm with you. I'm excited for this game. The moment you told me about it, and I saw it, especially its lighting engine and its artwork, it looks like something special.
Yeah, and that's what really sets it apart from even the other games, like the lighting effects that they put on there. And I think that's just so important. That's just something that really makes pixel art stand out from your basic, just kind of ordinary pixel art game to something that has kind of like dynamic lighting, like some of these games have. I just think that's just sets things apart from the crowd. And I wish more pixel art games had the the time to do it or the budget to do it, because it really makes things look so much better. But I'm not sure when this is coming out. I'm hopeful that it's 2021, but I think it might be 2022. But we'll see. We will see. Sea of Stars is the name of the game. And that's going to be it. Very, very cool. That's going to wrap up today's episode of this Switch RPG podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, send them in at podcast@switchrpg.com, or you can hit us up on Twitter, whatever. You can listen to the show each and every week at switchrpg.com, or you can subscribe on your favorite podcast app. If you listen on an app, please give us a rating and review. We want to climb up the charts on those platforms, so your support there would be amazing. And finally, remember, you can head over to switchrpg.com for all your RPG needs on the Nintendo Switch. Until next time, see you later.